Hank Williams, without question one of the greatest country music composers. Since his death, royalties to his family have amounted to several millions of dollars. This is the gravesite at Oakwood Cemetery where Hank Williams is buried. This is the only landmark to a Montgomeryan whose music touched the hearts of millions and whose name is a legend in the field of country music. Hank Williams Jr. visited Montgomery not long ago. He said that Montgomery is a fitting spot for a memorial to his father. He is holding his father's possessions in hopes, he said, that a memorial would be built here. In 1969, a Hank Williams Memorial Commission was established by executive order to make a study of a suitable and fitting tribute to this distinguished Alabamian. A study was made, plans were laid forth, but the memorial never came to pass. Commission Chairman Dick Emmett says the reason was funding. He explained two plans for a memorial for Hank Williams.
Well, one of the ideas would be to take the existing Union Station, downtown Montgomery, and about 40 or 50 of the acres that have been abandoned from the old freight yards and the old repair shop yards, and convert that into a Hank Williams Memorial Park. You would use Union Station for a museum, and the 40 or 50 acres would be converted into a theme park similar to Opryland in Nashville or similar to Six Flags over Georgia right outside of Atlanta. Now that's one of the ideas which is currently being tossed around. Another idea that's being tossed around is the purchase of a site that would be easily accessible to I-85 and I-65 and build a memorial museum at that particular location. A couple of ideas of the type of buildings that would be eye-catching and appropriate. One would be a museum in the shape of a guitar. I think you've seen those on the wall at one of the outer offices in my chambers. And another is to build a large boot in the museum in the shape of a boot that would have an observation tower on the top of it about 100 feet high. These are some of the ideas that have been, as I said, tossed around by the Hank Williams Memorial Commission as appropriate memorials to Hank Williams.
With either of these plans, the Hank Williams gravesite would be moved.
Yes, hopefully we could move the gravesite, as an example, if we built the Hank Williams Memorial Parkway along the Alabama River, using the old Union Station as the central point. In that area right in front of the Union Station, at the entrance, we would have that converted into the Hank Williams Memorial Plaza, and it would be there that the gravesite would be located.
Dick, is this being actively pursued, putting a memorial in Union Station, or your other plan off I-85?
Well, it has been actively pursued by myself. I have talked to some of the people who are involved in the Civic Center, some of the people who are involved in trying to rejuvenate and revamp downtown and the Downtown Unlimited people. I've talked to a great many people and those lines concerning this as a possible use of that facility.
I know that your biggest problem would be getting the money. How would you go about raising funds for it?
Well, raising the money would not be near as difficult as selling the idea. For these types of ventures, because they have such a tourist appeal, they generate a great deal of revenue. Six Flags over Georgia is a good example, or Opryland in Nashville is a good example. The way you would get the money, and we're talking about probably $10 or $15 million to do something in an appropriate fashion, you would get first a legislative act which would authorize the floating of municipal bonds in such a way that not pledging the credit of the city, but pledging just the revenue that would be derived from these types of tourist attractions. That revenue would be used to amortize or to pay the indebtedness off. And these bonds, or the money that would be raised from these bonds, would be used to construct and to maintain these facilities.
Would that take an act of the legislature?
It would take an act of the legislature to enable that kind, but it would not take any tax money. No taxes would be utilized in the construction or the maintenance.
Hank Williams, without question, one of the greatest country music composers. Since his death, royalties each year to his family amount to hundreds of thousands of dollars. His records have sold millions. This is the gravesite at the back of Oakwood Cemetery where Hank Williams is buried. The path to the grave isn't marked, and it's hard to know how to get here. There have been complaints from tourists and from people who live in the area that sometimes it's difficult to find Hank Williams' final resting place. It's been estimated that hundreds of people come through Montgomery every year looking for Hank's grave or for some type of memorial to the great country star. We went to Captain W.J. McFarland and found that directional signs could be placed on city streets and in city-owned Oakwood Cemetery so that Hank Williams' grave could be found.
Well, I think it's a great idea, and it's something that certainly ought to be done. I think Daddy's grave and his exhibit in the Archives building is one of the most, if not the most visited spot in Montgomery as far as sons of Alabama, you know. And Judge Emmett, Dick Emmett here in Montgomery, has been working on it diligently for, I guess 6 or 7 years. And they were going to buy the train station at one time. They were going to make it into a park, and they have plans drawn up for a building or a recreation area or state park with a kind of a Grand Ole Opry House atmosphere in it. It's the shape of a boot. I have all of his personal things, the car that he passed away in. And I know that many, many music fans come to Montgomery and they want to see Hank Williams' resting place in his grave. And it's not marked. It's in a cemetery that is not kept up very well. Now my mother is there next to him, and we hope and pray that someday that they will get the funds and the interest going to build this park. Every time they come to Nashville to the Hall of Fame, the next place they go is Montgomery to see Hank Williams' grave, you know, and there's so much vandalism that goes on at his grave. In fact, so much that we can't even have insurance on his grave anymore, and this is pitiful. People here in the state have tried to help me. They can't do anything either.
What type of vandalism?
Chipping off corners of the grave, stealing those urns with the flowers, and I just hope and pray that he can be moved to a spot like we're talking about, where there won't be any more of this kind of going on. Even on the news, you know, there's been, I think a rape took place out there one evening, and so much vandalism on his grave, and the beer cans are everywhere, and it's pretty sickening to me. And it's not marked where he is, how to get there. It's not watched, and so these type of things go on, and I don't think those type of things should go on at Hank Williams' grave.
Would you be willing for the grave to stay where it is if it were marked, and if there could be a memorial center that's not too far away?
Well, of course, yeah. If it could be watched and marked for people to know how to get there. Hank Williams is an American folk hero. He's like a General Custer. His name is just as famous as somebody's in history, and so many songs recorded about him here in the last few years, and so many of his songs, and people have such great interest in seeing it. Now Warner Brothers is getting ready to make another movie on his life. MGM made Your Cheating Heart, and Warner Brothers, who I've just signed with, is getting ready to make a big movie, and I hope that this park can go through, and these vandalisms and things like that will be ended, and I can put all of his stuff where it should be, in a museum here in Montgomery, not in Nashville, Tennessee. I've had offers to do that, but that's not the place. This is the place here.
8 years ago, by executive order, a Hank Williams Memorial Commission was set up by Governor Albert Brewer. 14 men were invited to join the commission, and they were asked to undertake a study to find a suitable and fitting memorial for this distinguished Alabamian. Next week, we'll take a look at some of the plans that have been put forth by the commission members, and we'll pursue the question, should a Hank Williams Memorial be built in Montgomery? This is Ivy Berman reporting for Composite.
Well, you know, there have been a lot of plans about the Hank Williams Memorial. And one of the newest plans that we have that I think is just out of sight is to take one of these old warehouses that we have right behind us here and turn it into a Hank Williams Memorial. Make it not only a museum, but have his artifacts in it, but also have an amateur theater where people in this area, all over the state of Alabama and other places, could come and get a start at an amateur theater. And people could walk in, all of it would be for free, and they could perform, and people could hear all of this performing, and from that point on could launch the careers of many people.
Would you have any people come in from Grand Ole Opry land?
Well, we would hope to consult them in laying out the theater and have it like the old Wyman Auditorium used to be with that
That's
filling.
Grand Ole Opry.
That's the old Grand Ole Opry that's now torn down there in the new modern building, and that's the nice place to be, but it's not the old Wyman Auditorium. And if we could have that decor and that feeling of homeliness that I think Hank Williams stood for.
How would you go about doing that?
First of all, you would pray a lot, but really get an idea, concrete that idea, formulate it from step by step, and then present it to all the commission members. And from that, then get business people, civic leaders, and social leaders interested in the project, and then go from there.
Is this something that you're going to be working on?
This is a program that I'm going to put together with the help of a lot of people, including you, and present it to the commission. And also, I hope when I do present it, they'll have a total outlay from beginning, how to put it together, where to put it together, who would participate, and how to finance it.
Do you have any ideas now for your financing?
No, but I'm a great believer if you can get the public to finance a thing, if it can be financed by individual people on their own, you don't have the rules and regulations and restrictions of governmental financing, and you leave the taxpayers' money alone. I think there's enough people in this country, especially in Alabama in this area, who are lovers of Hank Williams and of the type of music that he wrote and that he sang throughout his whole career, that we could collect enough dimes and dollars to build anything we wanted to.
Well, speaking for most of our members, Downtown Unlimited, Ivy, we think it's great because it would be a focal point to bring people into the downtown area and to see Hank Williams memorabilia that could be in one of the buildings over here if they were selected as a museum site. And anything that'll bring people downtown, we're all for.
Do you think it would probably be a success?
Oh, yes, I'm sure it is, because there are thousands of people that stop by each year just to see his grave up in the cemetery up there. If they could also come down here to see a museum with memorabilia and things to remind them of Hank, and maybe buy something to remind them of Hank, it'd be nice.
Do you feel that this is something that would be supported by most of the city officials and those who have a say in what happens in the future of Montgomery?
Oh, most definitely, because the Civic Center area where we're standing now, we hope to see this alive with people. We hope to see Union Station become a place with restaurants, shops, and everything to bring people into the area. A Hank Williams Museum would complement what we have plans for this area, very much so.
Two questions remain. The first is, can the funding be raised so that a Hank Williams Memorial actually can be established in Montgomery? And the second, if it is, and if there is a Hank Williams Memorial, will the gravesite be transferred to that location? One thing that is for sure, Hank Williams fans, city officials, and Hank's family all agree there should be a Hank Williams Memorial in Montgomery. This is Ivy Berman reporting for Composite.